All group. Beginning, I must tell you a few safety rules. We are in the mine, it's kind of dangerous place. So first of all, we can't use open fire in the mine, so smoking is not allowed. Next thing, the mine is almost like an underground labyrinth. There are 2,040 chambers connected by almost 300 kilometers of passageways. In one line, it could be distance from Krakow to Warsaw. So, stay in one group, don't stay behind, otherwise you can get lost, and then miners will find you tomorrow. And a few more things. Don't touch an electric installation. It's obvious, but I am telling just in case. Hold the door, which are on in the corridors. And one more thing for taller people, watch your head. Ceiling sometimes is low. What can I say? It's good to be short in the mud. That's all. Of course, you are allowed to take pictures. If you have any questions, ask. And tell me now, are you feeling all right? Is everything okay?
Yes.
So, welcome on the tour and enjoy the mine.
Die zorgt ervoor dat de temperatuur constant blijft. Dat was ook een
The first shaft, the Wieliczka shaft, is the main shaft. It means it connects surface with the mine. And altogether were 26 shafts in Wieliczka. But over here you can see 4 shafts or small shafts. Those connect at different levels in the mine. From 13th to 15th century, miners excavated only first level. But later they started to drill 4 shafts, looking for salt deeper and deeper. And the deepest point in our mine is 9 level, located 327 meters below the ground. All mine is 5 kilometers long, 1.5 kilometers wide. But for us, it's really only 2% of all the mine. 20 the most beautiful chambers. Our trip will take about 2 hours, 3 kilometers of walking, and 800 steps.
below the level.
We are in the first chamber on our tour. You are in the salt mine. You may expect a lot of salt here. Actually, in this chamber, salt we can see only in the ceiling. Lot of salt. Rest of the material, which is here, that's wood. Why so many wooden timbers in the mine? All the workings, all chambers and corridors in our mine are man-made. It means they were left after excavating, and miners had to support the emptiness from collapsing. For that purpose, they used wood. Wood by salt air can be very well preserved. And miners usually used softwood to build supportings here, needle trees mostly. Softwood contains more water than a hard one, and if salt air gets into the wood, water crystallizes, and it makes it strong, almost like stone. Timbers around here are 100 years old. But I will show you supporting, which is 300 years old. And it's finally salt. This chamber was excavated in the 18th century, and it's dedicated to Nicolaus Copernicus. Copernicus, well-known Polish astronomer, visited our salt mine in 1493. At that time, he was studying at the Jagiellonian University in Krakow, so pretty close to Wieliczka. In 15th century, every visitor who wanted to see the mine had to attend very good birth in 1973. This statue was placed here, which shows us him. Worth telling is that all the statue is made of salt, rock salt. It looks grey because it contains impurities, sand, clay, and so on, but have a look how transparent it is. Stone wouldn't be. This kind of salt, which is called the green salt, contains 95–96% of pure salt, sodium chloride. And this is the most common kind of salt in our mine, in fact. Statue, walls, ceiling, and the floor as well. This is that kind of salt. We are walking on the salt floor. And in the old days, people used salt in that way without purifying. They just scraped rock salt on the food and use it mostly for food preservation. But in my packet, I have another kind of salt, the crystal salt. May I? Yeah. And have a look. This one looks almost like glass, and it contains 99% of pure salt. On the tour, I will show you a few more kinds of salt too. But in this chamber, one more thing, one more word about statues in our mine. All of the carvings you can see here were carved by our miners. Not professional artists, just regular miners. On the very beginning, miners wanted to give something to their patron saints, so they built chapels and decorated them. But since regular tourist road was organized, miners have started to decorate the tourist road. This statue is 50 years old. We'll see much older and much more beautiful. And one more thing, almost all of the carvings were carved out of salt, so I must ask you not to touch them, because it can destroy salt statues. You can check walls, ceiling if you can, except the statues. And in the next chamber, we'll hear the legend which says how salt came from Hungary to Poland in Middle Ages. Time for the legend now.
When a Polish prince called Bolesław proposed to Hungarian Princess Kinga, her father, King Bela, insisted on a traditional dowry. But Kinga came up with another idea. She knew that no rock salt was mined in Poland and decided to ask her father for a group of salt miners. She wished to find salt in Poland with their help. Without a second thought, the king presented to Kinga an entire salt mine in Hungary. The princess visited the mine on her way to Krakow. She came near the mine shaft and, surprisingly, threw her engagement ring into it. When she arrived to her new country, she requested the miners to look for salt. The result came soon. The miners discovered salt deposits near Krakow that gave Poland centuries-long prosperity. They say that Kinga's engagement ring was found in the first salt lump extracted.
How we call it? Cauliflower salt. Cauliflower salt because it looks like the vegetable. Very, that's nothing, just methane explosion. It looks like the vegetable, very white and pure, 100% of pure salt in fact. If you don't believe me, you can taste. We have the rule that every tourist can take from the mine as much salt as you can eat here. Enjoy tasting. burning, painted them white. Maybe you have noticed in the corridors that wood is white sometimes. That white stuff, that's calcium, which prevented wood from fires. But the most dangerous thing here was methane gas. Methane is a gas which released from the rock at the salt excavation, and combining with the air, it's explosive. Explosive whenever it reaches 5 to 15% in the air. In the mine. And it was also important thing here, all excavated salt had to be carried from the chamber to the shaft firstly, and then up to the surface. So for horizontal transport, miners use different kind of wooden carts, like that one, or this one behind me. This one here was called the Hungarian dog. Why? When miner pushed that cart, it sounded like dogs barking. Hungarian because machine came from Hungary in 18th century. Miners used also special wooden sledge for horizontal transport. For centuries, miners transported excavated salt until horses were used for that purpose. In 17th century, there were more than 100 horses working in the mine. And since the end of 19th century, an underground rail has been working in our mine. If you look on the floor, you can notice all tracks. Firstly, carts like that one were drawn by horses. Nowadays they are moved by electric or battery trains, so it's easier. I must tell you that, however we stopped salt production, still 500 miners work here to keep mine safe, to maintain all the tunnels. So sometimes they use the rail. And there are no more horses in the mine nowadays, of course. But the last one left the mine only 20 years ago. In the old days, horses were transported to the mine using special lift, which we'll see in the next chamber. But I'm strong. Okay, well, 150 seconds. Can collapse. All the time we have leakages to the mine because around salt vein there are other rocks which contain water. If there is any hole in the salt, water gets through to the mine. Nowadays it's pumped out, not a problem. But at the very beginning, miners used different kind of pumps for that purpose, and one of them we can see here. Pumped up by that pipe on the back. Chamber with the dwarves. I must tell you that not only children like dwarves, there is a legend that miners used to believe dwarves help them in their work. So we can see the boss, the carpenter in the middle, the porter on the front, few miners diggers, 2 on this side and 2 on the other, but only one of the dwarves, this one on the front, is really happy. He is smiling. Do you know why? How do you think? He's not working. And I think that he can be tourist or a guide in our mine. Yeah? 2 possibilities. Well, what can I tell you? We must have something for children. They don't want to listen about miners. They were carved in 17th century and transferred here from another chapel when it partly collapsed. Jesus and the crucifix, and on the other side, Our Lady. Those are very interesting carvings because they are only carvings on the tourist road, which were made of wood. And you can see how wonderfully they are preserved, even that they are 300 years old. These two praying people were carved at the same time, but made of salt, and look what has happened. They have melted almost. Whenever humidity in the mine is higher than 75%, water vapor sits on the salt statues, condensates, and dissolves them. That's why we must have air condition in the mine nowadays to keep humidity lower than 75% all the time. And that's why newer statues are in better condition all the time. And above us, have a look, first crystal salt chandelier, made of crystal salt. It's nice, but in the moment we are going to see much bigger chandeliers and the most beautiful chapel in our mine. Welcome. It took them 70 years to do all those statues. Quite long, but almost all carvings were carved by three miners only. Markowski brothers and Antonio Giro. The chapel is 54 meters long, 30 meters wide, 10 okay, 101. Made of salt, but have a look at the nativity. This kind of salt contains iron, and that's why it looks orange with it. On both sides of the chapel are smaller chapels. One of them dedicated to Our Lady of the Fathers, another to the disciples of Jesus Christ resurrected. Above us, biggest crystal salt chandelier in this chapel. Main altar, you can see a light image. Jesus in the temple. The main altar statue of Saint Kinga, and on the other side the Golgotha and three big relics. First one, the miracle of Cana in Galilee, in the middle the Last Supper, and on the end the doubting Thomas. So the oldest part of this chapel is the main altar, and it was carved in 1890s. The newest one, that statue of Pope John Paul II on the other side. And about it I will have it more. So look around, take pictures. If you have any questions, I will give you. And in a few minutes we'll continue. We're miners and amateurs in carving, but quite talented. The last flag is still waiting for our miner and artist, probably this one who carved the statue of Pope John Paul II. This is the newest statue in this chapel. It was carved in 1999 by Stanisław. That miner is still alive, like this one. From here, have a look one more time on the Last Supper. Relief is only 20 centimeters deep, 6 inches deep, but it has nice curves. The miracle of Cana is 50 centimeters deep, but it looks like it's 3D. Alright, last view on the chapel, and welcome on the rest of it. Now, 20th century. Bottom of the chamber was filled with salt water, so this is an artificial lake. We do have natural lakes in the mine, but they are on lower levels, 9 and 8 level. This kind of liquid doesn't dissolve walls because it already contains so much salt that it doesn't take any more. It's saturated. 320 grams of salt in 1 liter of water. It's so thick, like in the Dead Sea, so float, even if you can swim. And maybe the deepest place is 9 meters deep. So lower here, so you can float like this. And one more thing is worth for here. That's why underground, on the 3rd level, we have spa, health resort, where people with asthma, breathing problems, allergies come for health courses. Breathe deep, it's good for you. And one more thing, as you know, salt preserves everything very well, right? I'm 100 years old, so breathe deep, you will look younger. We will see 2 more lakes on our tour, but this one is the most beautiful with the green water in it. So for pictures, in the Michałowice chamber now. Miners started to excavate salt here in 18th century, and it took them more than 100 years to take all. It was very huge lump of salt. In this chamber, you can see that not only miners, diggers, but also engineers, carpenters were very important in our mine. We see a wonderful wooden pillar construction, which was built here in the end of 19th century. At that time, this chamber was part of regular tourist road. So tourists used to climb down those steps from Urszula chamber, the first one on our tour straight here. And miners' orchestras to play here for people, so it was fun. Looking up, we can see the biggest crystal salt chandelier in our mine, more than 4,000 salt crystals in it. And two kinds of ceilings supporting, an old one, wooden, and above us, modern kind of ceiling supporting. Can you see those dots on the ceiling? Long anchors are drilled into the rock to connect salt rock with others. Long, it means even 12 meters. So we are quite sure that you are safe here. I'm a little bit afraid of that crack only, but the rest of it is okay. There were two chambers, in fact, Rossetti and Meyer, and both were part of the tourist road. So at that time, tourists used to climb down the steps to that coast, and then ferry took them to this coast. It was fun. Unfortunately, in 1916, a disaster struck, and 7 tourists died. Ferry capsized and covered them. They didn't drown. It's impossible to drown in salt water. It's so thick. They died because they couldn't breathe, and they were trapped under the ferry. And at the time, management decided to stop ferry crossing. So we can see ferry on the other coast, but it's not working. Next to the lake, statue of Saint John Nepomucene, patron saint of those who died in the water. Like this here. And good news to the end. I don't know if it's good news, but that's true. See the balcony. Pretty close to the lower part of the St. Kinga's Chapel, and we were there. All the workings are connected. That's almost the end of the tour. Now you will be able to be here without me, without any guide. So let me explain you where you can go and what you can see. Come closer to this man. All right. We are in the Stashik chamber now. That green line is that corridor behind me. So if you go down this corridor, on the right, very small treasure chamber and toilets. Straight on, Vito's chamber with gift shops. On the left, Budryk chamber with the restaurant. One more time on the left, Warsaw chamber with huge ballroom. And the last one, there is Wisła chamber. On the end of it, there is exit. You can stay here as long as you wish. But if you decide to leave those chambers, you must go to the last one. And from there you have 2 ways. First one, the museum. Museum, it means few more chambers, mostly the same what's on the tourist road, more historical documents or miners' machines you can see there. Second way, straight to the elevator. Every few minutes, group with a guide to elevator is leaving from the middle section of the Wisła chamber. Not necessarily with me, but always with a guide. Elevator is still a few hundred meters from there.
Okay.
In case we want to meet each other, I want to say you goodbye. It was my pleasure to guide you, and I hope you have enjoyed that tour, and it was interesting for you.
Thank you so much.